Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Directions Mag Geospatial webinar. I am Barbary Duke, Editor-in-Chief here at Directions Mag, with our webinar producer, Lynette Qualia. Thank you to the geospatial community for being loyal to us for 25 years. Catch what you missed at directionsmag.com. We are excited to have Charlie Fitzpatrick from the Esri Education team back with us today. He's brought two friends from Minnesota. Welcome, Shauna and Jim. We're excited to learn how geospatial professionals can help students do some really cool things. So Charlie, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Barbary, and hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here and delighted to have a couple of friends with me. Because we really like to see people helping out with students doing cool projects, and the capacity to do these things is really underestimated by the world at large, because when we look at some of the projects that students have done, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just focus on that. We want to get students to be able to participate in a competition. And you can see that there is, in fact, a competition. This is a great week for it because we launched the competition on Monday for this year. This is the 8th year. It has been around for 7 years, since 2017. And basically, it is a 5-step process. Students do a project as a team of 1 or 2. They submit their project to the school. The school picks their 5 best, submits them to the state. The state picks their 5 best high school and 5 best middle school projects. Those awardees get $100 each. The state send their data to Esri. We choose from the top 1 high school and top 1 middle school of all of the states. We choose at least a top 1, and frequently we have to choose 1 or even 2 honorable mentions because some of these things are really good. And then we make these things all available for people to see and explore out there. And you get to see all of the results at the results page. You can see them by year. You can go back and see the rules for next year. You can see all kinds of resources that we've made available for people. So this ArcGIS Online Competition is really a self-contained website to give you everything that you need to know. But this is going to be a really exciting piece, I think, because we've been at this for a while, and we want people to engage. We want people not to just focus on the high school and the middle school students. Grades 9 through 12 are in high school, 4 through 8 in middle school. We want you to be thinking broadly about clubs, because frequently in schools, people get really focused on, okay, we got to do this. We can't expand our explorations outward. We want to give students the chance to explore and do what they want to do. So the whole idea of 1 or 2 students going in and saying, we want to explore our topic. We want to do a topic on this. We want to do a project on this topic. That's the key here. Now, the constraint is a geographic one. The topic does need to be within the state borders, but folks in Delaware and Rhode Island certainly have a lot of options in there. Not only Texas and California have lots of options. So it's really important for people to be thinking about what are the important considerations. Now, we've talked a little bit about states. Everybody has to do this within the focus of their state. Well, first of all, the state needs to submit formal participation paperwork. So not every state can participate in it. The state needs to do, somebody within the state needs to step up and say, yep, I'll make sure that students in our state can do this. Now, if you're not accustomed to the competition yet, there is on the results page a set of maps, each year's map, and you can click on it and it'll walk you through where you go to find out about that. And you can see who was involved in the past. And it's not just 50 states, because we also cover the territories, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, American Samoa, Northern Marianas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the DoDEA, the Department of Defense Education Activities. So we want everybody in the U.S. and beyond who are U.S. People to be participating in this. Now, how can you, the GIS users and others, help on this? First of all, the biggest thing is to talk it up, to talk with people in the community, show people about the competition, and show some of these great projects. First, take a look at them yourselves, just enjoy them because they are really good. And then get people to be thinking about, hey, this project really gets people focusing on geographic thinking and the power of GIS. And yep, you get software, you can get software easily from Esri. We'll go through that a little bit. But the earlier the better to get people exposed to this and thinking about this. Now, eventually, as people start working on it, they will really want some technical guidance. So you can help the teachers, the club leaders, the students grasp this whole notion of let's explore and then start investigating some things and build some skills and do a project. That's an evolution that we like to see schools going through. You may be asked to help students acquire an ArcGIS school bundle and set it up and learn how to use it. And essentially, that same sort of elevation process or escalation or climbing process, that's moving up the ladder of doing a project. A lot of people just say, hey, I'm going to start with doing a project. What am I going to do? Help them learn how to do some of these things in a step-by-step fashion. And so for this competition, it's really important to make sure that the teachers and the leaders know that we want the students to be designing and deciding and doing. We want them. This is their project. But let's go a little bit further here then. So when you're doing a project, when people see a project, when they look at the competition and they go to the results and they look at the winner's project, traffic accidents in Jacksonville, Illinois, or Hennepin County homeless people, they look at that project and they say, wow, that's cool. I don't know anything about this, but I got a whole hour to learn everything that I need to know to do this project, to do any sort of my own project. That's nice thought, but it really takes time to build the things that you need to know. You need to understand how to use maps, how to make maps, how to do some research, how to collect some data, because the students are out there doing data collection. They're doing analysis, real GIS analysis. They're interpreting different layers, and then they're telling a story about it. So all of these processes take some experience, and really it's expertise takes frequency. It's the frequent experiences that make a big difference. And so, you know, you can go through this this whole evolution here from exposure to practice to experimentation to integration with other skills, vision, creativity. Really, the key is what we have used in a teacher training group that we have, teachers teaching teachers GIS. We use this graphic to say, you know, people see these projects and say, that, I want to do that. You know, you kind of really need to get through some of the basics and build your skills before you start booking your concerts and come hear me play the violin. You don't want to hear me play the violin. So it's really build those things, And this takes time. This is a long thing. This is why it's so important to get people thinking about doing the competition, thinking about that down the road. How do I get started today if I want to do that thing down the road? Well, okay, let's hear about GIS, about maps, about using maps. In the fall, states apply. And so students can just be spending that time learning about using maps and making maps. And GIS Day, November 15th, that's a great opportunity for you as a helper to be looking at this and saying, I bet you we can get some people, if we can get them by November, first of all, let's get the state engaged. Let's fill out that paperwork and get the state on the map. The last day for states to apply is December 1st. And so, because over the winter time, and actually, I mean, if people already apply for the state to participate, all that early time can be working on building up the skills rather than saying, hey, we got to get somebody to run this thing for the state. So in the wintertime, students expand their skills, they explore these topics, they do the research, and they start building maps in the wintertime. Because spring is when things really heat up quickly. They need to be assembling their report. They discover all the things that they didn't really think about and they got to act on. And no later than the end of April, they got to get their projects to the school, because the school's got to judge them and turn around and hand them off to the state, which has got to take them in, judge a bunch of them, and turn them over to Esri in time for us to be able to assemble these and put these reports together. So we really want people to move effectively during that span. Now, you may run into schools that say, we don't have software in which people can create, save, and share. And so, okay, they can get a school bundle for free for schools for instructional use, esri.com/schools. They can get in and they can say, you know, it's January. We don't know that we're going to be ready to do this. That's okay. Build for tomorrow. But get in and start working on it. And you can do these independent investigations, including the competition. And you can see that there are people all over the country that have school bundles. And now this is a story map, a briefing template story map. I'm just going to biggerize this screen for a second. And you can see that this is not just the 48 states that people think about. We got some states, we got some sites across the planet where people have school bundles in place, and all of these people could be participating in the competition if somebody would take care of making sure that that state is a participant. So this address, esriurl.com/USK12GIS, you can go there and see if the schools in your neighborhood, the schools that you're concerned about, have access to the software. Now, if somebody says they're not ready to jump into that far, where do they start? Well, Esri worked with National Geographic to come up with MapMaker. This was released at the, or this was premiered, say, at the user conference in 2023 in San Diego. And there are some students that got up on stage. They were rising 6th grade students. And they showed, hey, here's a free tool, no login, 2D, 3D, this button here, click the 2D, 3D button, and bang, I've been looking for that button for 30 years. This is just so exciting to see. This is a great tool because this really builds thinking geographically. It gets people interested in looking at patterns and seeing relationships. This is what we want to have happen. So that people say, great, I want to go further. And this is what we're really looking for. So all of these resources that you're seeing here, they're all sitting out there for you to play around with, for you to explore. And let's see if we can get those thrown into the chat. And then what I also want to do is to turn over and say, Jim Hansen, can you jump in and from the Minnesota Alliance for Geographic Education and talk a little bit about Minnesota and the Minnesota competition and what it is that teachers, what would help them?
Well, Charlie's kind of covered completely the things you need up front, up to the point where your school actually has the software available. At that point, it's finding the teachers and the students who want to participate in the competition. And sometimes that takes a bit of time. It doesn't happen real fast necessarily. What you're looking at here is the website for the competition for Minnesota. And you see featured there the teacher and the student that won the national competition last year. A very focused story map on a very small area in Minneapolis where there are a lot of homeless people. And she literally mapped every homeless location and built an argument that what they needed to do was to house people in the hotels in that area as a potential solution. So how did we get to that point? The teacher on the right actually is a former student of mine. She scaffolds kids into ArcGIS Online, and she starts with very simple activities where the kids start making very simple maps related to what they're studying. And then eventually she gets them in up the ladder and doing things at a higher level. And eventually they learn how to make a story map. And then sometime in February, they pick a topic that they're personally interested in, and they begin developing their research. They need to build at least one map for the competition that'll be part of the story map. And I'd encourage you to do some exploring. So how do you get schools to do this is a great question. If you'll kind of scroll down, Farley, to the bottom, we're fortunate in Minnesota, in addition to have Esri supplying us with the software, we have 3 organizations that totally support the competition. One is the one I'm related to, the Minnesota Alliance for Geographic Education. It's been around since the 1980s, a K-12 organization that focuses on helping teachers promote the teaching of geography. And when we got the competition up and running, we had a group of teachers who potentially are going to be interested in doing the competition. We also have the Minnesota GIS LIS Consortium, a group of professionals that has a K-12 component to it. And every year they sponsor an educator day, which is going to take place in Duluth on the 6th of October. And we'll be up there giving presentations and getting people interested in the potential of using the program. And we've got the Department of Education. So if you're sitting in your classroom and you're going, well, this all sounds kind of interesting. How in the heck do I get from point A to point B? Charlie, if you would click the map lesson tab on the far right, you can come to our website, and there is a set of 5 activities you can do. You can learn how to do some mapping. Your students can come to the website. They can do the activities. They each take about 5 minutes. They're very simple. You don't need a login. You don't need an account or anything. And then once your school has an account, you can come to this website and you scroll down, Charlie. You will see there are 3 kind of map making activities that are designed by Esri, lasts about 30 minutes. And I will guarantee you any students who does all 3 of those activities is going to be more than ready to begin creating the map they would need to make in order to do a presentation or complete an entry. And Charlie, if you go to the competition results tab real quickly and start scrolling down, I would recommend coming here. And if you're just kind of curious in Minnesota, this is one place where we have the links to the entries that were turned in at the high school level and the middle school level in Minnesota. And you'll notice on the right-hand side, I've coded them according to what type of a format did they use. This is where you have to get creative if you're just starting out. So Charlie will keep scrolling down. There are basically 3 ways to approach the competition. I started in Bloomington just finding students who wanted to do it. Did they want the $100 that was being offered? or they just wanted something new to do, and I recruited them. I didn't even work with them in a class. I worked with them during when they had like an advisory time of 30 minutes and getting them going. So I only was working with a few students. Then if you got a teacher that is excited, you can take an existing assignment that kids do. This is for format 2. A teacher up in Cloquet does the National Science Fair every year, and those kids each year have converted their national science project into a competition entry. And then the top of the level would be where you have a whole entire class where they have an activity, and every single student in the class is going to do the activity, and that will become an entry, and then you can pick your top entries from that. So I'd recommend coming to this website and get some basic information about that. So it's a lot of support. It takes time to get it going. I can tell you that in 2016, there was not a competition in Minnesota. With the help of the Alliance and the State Department of Education, and with encouragement from Charlie, we went from, in the month of February, a competition did not exist in the state of Minnesota, that by March we had over 200 students who had participated and turned in a map. So you can make it happen. You just need a good support group behind you. So if any people have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and then I'll pass this back to Charlie.
Thanks, Jim. And that's really cool. And one of the things that is helpful is to think about this and say, actually back on the competition page, you may discover on the bottom of the home page, there is the participation map. And on our second day of Alive, we've already got one state that is participating in the competition, and it's Minnesota. Also from Minnesota, Shauna Crossan. And Shauna, you've done some really cool things with story maps and students. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. I'm excited to be here. And I work at the University of Minnesota, and I counted students yesterday, and we have worked with thousands, probably closing in on 5,000 students who have used story maps in a variety of classes. This is at the undergraduate level, but I got to tell you, what high school students, middle school students can produce is just as good as what the undergrads can do. Students just take to the story map template and telling stories using visuals and maps. They just take to it like, it's not a problem. The technology is not a hurdle with the story maps. Where I think it's important to have help, and where the GIS professionals can come in, is if the technology is going, especially the mapping, is something the teacher doesn't feel comfortable with. And that's where we are exploring the option of having college students connecting to K-12 classrooms, or middle school, high school classrooms. And also we have a robust program in Minnesota where GIS professionals connect right into the classroom and help support the teachers and the students with the more technical GIS. But I have to tell you, the students, they pick this up in a snap. Using this tool is not a problem for them.
And Shauna, you had a really timely article about
Yeah, thanks to Barbary, we put together a quick article with just some ideas of ways to bring GIS into the classroom. So the competition is a great way, but like Jim and Charlie have said, it can take a lot of time and effort. And so what I did was just wrote a few ideas of ways that you could get involved, from bringing in the map maker, really talking to the teachers and finding out what they're doing. We've been showing a lot of things from geography classes, but you can use these tools in any subject area, and I have with the story map projects we've done. So reach out to the teachers, see what they're doing, and figure out how you can help. GIS Day, November 15th, is a great opportunity to connect with teachers and bring in some GIS. I think that's great.
And that's really a great segue, because what we really want to get people to be thinking about is that calendar. And you can find all the resources about this at the school competition website. But if you think about this from the point of view of, okay, the states need to apply for anybody to have a chance, and that application needs to be in by December 1. Or we've had people say, hey, it's February, our state would like to apply, and you've missed too much of the year by that time. So it really is, you got to think ahead of time. You got to be letting people know that this exists so that they have time to do the skill building and conduct the research. And so if you have a chance to take a look at that page, the competition page, I'm going to encourage you first to go through, understand the competition as itself, and then come in, take a look at the results, because there's some awesome projects for you to explore. But let's see, Barbara Reed, do we have any questions that have rolled in that we should be addressing here?
Absolutely. So I'll encourage folks to continue to type those in as you have them. A question is, do I have to create a second login account for the competition, or can I just use my Esri account?
Oh, that's a great question. The competition should happen in a student's own school-provided account. We clarified this year that this needs to come from an ArcGIS school bundle. So that's to protect the students. That's really to make sure that the students are protected, that they're in essentially a walled garden. They have a nice, safe, and secure login. So students need to use that, but they can use the same login that they've been using for regular classroom activities.
Mm-hmm. Great. Another question is there a range of time that maybe someone could expect to give to these kinds of projects or working with students?
You know, this is from the perspective of an adult doing this. There are some people that do this just because they like spending time with teachers and with teachers and students as a group. But sometimes it's just get the teacher, get the club leader engaged and let them work with this. It's really entirely up to the leaders themselves how much time they want to allocate to it. And that's why this is a student activity. They get to do it away from class, outside of class. There are some teachers that say, okay, we're going to get everybody to start doing something in class because we want you to see projects. We want you to think about doing projects. GIS people, we're all accustomed to it, and we think everybody knows projects, but they don't necessarily. Mm-hmm. So it's really getting the teachers comfortable with the notion of projects.
So I know from working with some state level things that it's possible that the state organizers may need people to just be general review sort of folks. We might need people on the ground to be, present in person working with students. Maybe it's just some data consultation on how to find things and that sort of stuff. So I just want to encourage everyone. There are lots of levels of engagement for you when it comes to working with students and specifically the competition.
Could I just add something here? Going back to what I said earlier, if you are using the format where you've got one or two kids that want to do it, they really can do it on their own outside of school with some consultation with you and maybe some outside help from a GIS professional. The competition entry from the state of Minnesota that won last year, that was a class project. Every kid did it. And they basically used the month of April for a lot of their class time, not every single day, all day, but that was when they got their mapping and things done. So it kind of depends on what level you're doing the competition. Mm-hmm. I think that may have been what the teacher was asking, how much time does it take?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. Well,
Well,
I think
thank you,
we're out of
Barbara.
time here, Charlie. Too much
Wow,
good stuff to talk about in just a little amount of time.
it's been great.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here today and sharing this with the geospatial professional community. Thank you again to Charlie, Shauna, and Jim for their expertise. And we hope that you'll join us for more geospatial webinars here at Directions Mag. Make it a great day. Tell a friend about the Esri School Map Competition and, of course, Directions Magazine. Thanks, everybody.